Excellent. And we are live on YouTube. Happy Sunday live, Gordana. Happy Sunday live, everyone. Thank you for joining us. How are you?
Hi, Lucas. I am good. I'm so good. And I'm so happy for this Sunday live today.
Yes.
Oh, it's such an important thing that we're going to talk about. It feels like it's it's nothing. It's silence. But that is what we're going to explore today. We're going to look at silence, what it actually is, and how to harness the power that is within silence.
Yes.
Because I think that while we talk about it, we're going to see how silence is not nothing or no sound. It is actually full potential in silence.
Yes.
So how do we reach this point where we can access the silence and use the silence in our lives? Because we can shut down the noise from the outside, but just knowing where the true silence is and the true power is, it is from within. So how do we do this and still function in this world? Because of course we can all go and sit on the top of a mountain and be quiet, and that would be silence, but we're not functioning then. So how do we use the silence for our benefit and still continue to function in this world, harness it and function in this world? So I'm so excited that we're going to explore this today.
I am too. It's so funny. Everyone, I'm sure I am not the only one who has ever lost their car keys. However, I happened to realize that I lost my car keys this morning, and it's unusual. I don't lose stuff. I have a very specific drawer I put everything in and very routine. And this morning I couldn't find my car keys. And so there have been times, for instance, one time I'll deviate from the story, but I've had incredible miracles per se show up. One time I was 28 years old. I was at a business meeting in downtown Seattle, Washington, busy metropolitan downtown, people everywhere. And I was meeting at a Starbucks on the sidewalk at this table. And I left my computer laptop, my computer bag, everything. And it had a whole bunch of my employees' paperwork in this bag. And I get back home and I realize I don't have it. I left it. So I called the Starbucks. No one's seen anything. So no joke. I get on my knees and I pray, God, you know wherever that backpack is, I know you see it right now. And whoever has held it or touched it, I ask that they drop it right now and it be seen. 2 hours later, I get a phone call and this woman says, hello. And I'm like, hello. She's like, I was like, how do you get this number? She's like, well, we found a bag in an alleyway and your business card was in it. Are you missing your bag? I'm like, oh, you have no idea. Am I missing my bag? It's incredible. She found it in the middle of an alleyway, blocks away. And I think whenever I prayed that, whoever had it dropped it, they see it. And I drove and I got nothing was taken. The coins, the money, and nothing. So I've had some really cool stories like this throughout my life. And here I am this morning without my car keys. And we went to a pool yesterday with friends and we had a pool day. And I'm like, did I leave my keys in the pool? Like, did I leave in my pocket? I don't know. Where are they? And I knew we were talking about silence, the power of silence. So this morning, I instead of letting the start revving and like, where are they? And I go sit in this room and I'm like, okay, I might not be able to recall in my mind right now, but I'm the only one that knows where those keys are because I'm the only one that touched them. Where are they? So I sat in silence and I felt the peace and I traveled back and I realized they were at the couple's house that we went to. I left them in their house. So I texted them this morning and I said, I think I left my keys at your house. Could you look? And they said, well, look. A couple hours go by, nothing. And then sure enough, a photo, they send us a photo, text us a photo of him holding the keys. And I would not have been able to, I could see it. I couldn't see exactly where they are, but I knew like energetically, my keys were in that house. And they couldn't find them at first, but eventually they did. And it's all this I'm sharing is it came through the power of silence. It didn't come from me
Yes.
trying to find my keys more, tearing through everything. I sat in that and I could see, okay, somewhere in that residence, my keys are. And sure enough, they were. There's so much power in silence.
Yeah, yes, there is so much power in silence, because we have to define what silence actually is, because silence can be different things. Silence can be to shut yourself down for the noise from the outside. But it can also be silencing your mind and all the thoughts and all the words that are describing the outer world to you.
Yes. Yes.
And becoming totally still without the interaction with the world on the outside. That's one way to describe it. But it can also be to go into the observer of the world, continue to observe the world, but not allow the narrator to tell the observer what in words the observer is looking at. Just being in the observer is to become the silence. To listen to the narrator, but not speak to the outer world, is to practice silence. And there is a difference between the practicing and becoming. And what you did, you became the silence. You didn't just practice it. You didn't tell your children and your wife, I need a half an hour now in silence to be in my own space so that I can rest, or whatever it might be, that you would meditate or whatever it is. That would be to practice the silence. But to become the silence is to become the observer of the outer world. And in your case, it wasn't just the outer world, it was your memories of where you put the keys. So you became the observer of your own memories without putting any emotion to it. You just scanned it, no words.
Yep.
Just scanning it. Now that silence is potential.
Yeah.
And it's easier to reach that moment where you are in this observer mode when you have practiced silence.
Yes. Yes.
So becoming and practicing has become something that I'm looking at it from a different perspective now, and I'm trying to figure out the difference between them on a very detailed level, so to speak. Because for me, it was one and the same thing. Before, I was thinking like silence is one thing, and it's like shutting down everything else and being silent, shutting my mouth. But that's not true. I can become silence and be silence within me and still speak to you.
Yes. Yes. And you can not audibly speak, but still be very loud inside.
Yes, exactly. Yes. Exactly. So it's a question of understanding what is this silence. And for me, it is like being very, very connected to the core. So this morning I was sitting down and I was thinking, okay, so how would I define this? So silence to me is no sound. It's the same thing as no sound. But if I look at it, this world is made of a vibration, and a vibration is a sound. We can't hear all the sounds, but they're there. So the entire universe is humming Om, and that is a sound, which means that everything is actually a sound that we interpret as a physical thing in certain senses. So if I'm looking at it, what is sound then? So I would say sound is the creation. No sound is the creator. Sound is the effect. No sound is the cause to the effect. Sound is the expression. No sound is the source expressing itself. Sound is the surface, and no sound is the core. So sound is the many, no sound is the one. And every single thing that I say, I would be able to make a symbol of this, and it would be a circle with a dot. So the dot in the center is the silence or the no sound that is our source. Every single one of these things could be drawn in as a circle with a dot in the center of it. And that's the sound of Om, by the way, too. Beautiful. If you do it, when you do, I don't remember what it's called, when you put sand and then the vibration of a sound will make a symbol or would make a picture in the sound. The vibration makes the semantics, I think it's called.
Yeah. Yeah, I've seen the videos where they change the frequency and the sand goes. Yeah.
Exactly. So the frequency of Om is a circle with a dot in it.
So cool.
It's so amazing.
It is amazing.
So these things come up when you sit in silence, when you are silent, they pop up. And this is because the silence or the no sound is full of potential. All the potential is there. So if we can silence ourselves, we can always find the answers because everything is there. It's like the quantum field.
Yeah.
No sound is the quantum field in a way.
Yeah.
Now I'm going deep here, but
no, it's good. It's almost like, I would say it's how the Akashic records they've talked about, or the quantum field, it's the same. It exists, but to be the observer, and then you can see if we're in sound.
Yes.
You can't see it. I have been a talker my whole life.
Yeah.
And good or bad, it's just been a gift that I've been able to speak. And one of my really good friends, he's this Hasidic rabbi, and previously I'd call him a holy man. He really is a connected, deep spiritual well. He's just beautiful soul. And he asked me a few years ago, he said, do you want to go pray and study at this state park where we were? It was a couple hours away. So I said, yeah, sure, let's do it. So we get there at 4 a.m. It's pitch black, and he's a Hasidic rabbi. So he has the black brimmed hat, black coat, beard, like
everything is black.
Everything's black. And we are kind of deep in this area where a lot of camo, a lot of loggers, a lot of woodsmen, a lot of things where it's like, man, he doesn't really fit in. I'm like, I might have to protect this guy. I don't know what's going on. And we're in pitch black, and we go to this park, and we park where it says no parking. He said that it would be fine if he's done it before park. I'm like, okay, but I don't want to get towed, and I don't know where we are. And he said, once we exit this car, we're going to do a silent hike. He's like, and you cannot utter a word. He's like, I'll let you know when it's done. I'm like, okay, I've never done this before. Ever have I done a silent hike. And so we get out of the car. It's about 4:30 in the morning at this point. It's pitch black. I'm in the woods. I don't know where I am. I've never been here before, with this beautiful, small statured rabbi and me, the 6'3", 240-pound guy, looking around like, what the heck's going on here? But I was quiet. And the most incredible thing happened to me. It was the first time where I started to really understand the observer, even though I didn't understand what the observer was yet. We had been walking in silence. The sun rose. I could start to see where we were, but my mind was like just revving, partly because I was afraid our car was going to get towed and we'd be stuck. So this was the story that kept going. Like, are the Rangers going to find the car? Am I going to get towed? What's going to happen? I'm stuck here.
Noise.
No cell phone reception, noise. So we're walking, and we're about an hour in, and my mind is just going. In fact, at one point I was so taken by the silence, and he's walking in front of me, that I took a picture of him on my phone to document it. And he turned around. I don't know how he knew, just energetically, he turned around and looked at me, and I was like, okay, I put my phone back in my pocket. So we continue to walk. And at about the hour mark, I'm like, I have to trust. And this was the thing that came in. I said, I have to trust that my car is going to be okay. So I'll never forget, I can see right now where I was walking. I walk over this little hill, and immediately I was like, right when I said I have to trust that the car is going to be okay, my mind traveled almost astral projected to the vehicle, and I could see that it was okay. And then I came back in and I knew everything's okay. And I continued for another hour in silence, only I was completely still in myself. And whatever happened between the story and the revving, I traveled, I saw the car and it came back. And the stillness that I had for another hour is a milestone in my life that I can go to and remember like what noise is and what silence is.
Exactly.
So from that, I lead these men's retreats and I take men on silent hikes now. And I get to see, I know what's going to happen. I tell them no talking. If you see people and they smile and they wave at you, you just look at them. It's going to be, it's going to feel weird. Like this is not being polite. And I just say, look them in the eyes. But to hear men, me being one of them at one time, to say, I've never experienced anything like that. Like I was worried about everything else around me. And then when I found that silence, everything opened up. It's such a beautiful transformation. The silence is so profound.
Yes. I mean, the silence, what you do when you are not allowed to talk or comment or even, seek someone else's eye contact is that you become very aware of the observer within you, but also you become very aware of the narrator within you, because the narrator goes berserk when you stop speaking. It wants to narrate the whole world. Oh, look, there's a bird. Oh, look, there's a human being. Oh, look, it's going to rain. Oh, what if it rains? It will keep telling you stories because that is the ego speaking. The narrator can be a nice narrator telling you everything that is good around you, but it can also be a bad thing, like telling you your car will be towed. The ego tries everything to keep your mind busy so that it won't be silent, because ego feels like this is death. And that's why we are so afraid to sit in silence, because ego will tell you, well, if nothing happens, then how will you know that you're alive? It feels like you're dying. So you need either to talk or to have someone narrating things in your mind, your thoughts. And here's the thing, you are not your thoughts.
Right.
You are the one observing them or thinking them even. You're not your emotions. You're the one feeling them. You're not your body. You're the one using it. So this exercise that you're talking about, the silence exercise, has actually to do with connecting to the observer within and hearing the narrator, becoming more aware of the narrator. Otherwise, the narrator jumps instead of the observer. It becomes the observer in a way. So it won't allow you to go into the core where you relax, where all the answers will come, because the narrator knows all the answers. It thinks. And it's very narrow. What the narrator tells you, it is very narrow. So in order to allow ideas that reside in your subconscious mind to come to the surface, the narrator needs to shut up. So you have to start by shutting yourself down, moving into silence. This is why, for instance, I know that I read somewhere that Einstein used to say that when he encountered some kind of problem that he needed to solve, he would swim in silence, which means that he would release everything and go into a quiet place where he's alone with his own thoughts. And I also read that a lot of Nobel Prize winning scientists, when asked, when did you come up with this idea? Most of them will say, well, while sitting by a fire and smoking my pipe, or while walking with a dog. It's almost always when you are relaxed, when there is no one else around you, where you're totally alone with your thoughts, when you become the observer of the thoughts, where you can see the flaws in your own thinking, so to speak, so that you can change it in a way. So doing this exercise will not show you what silence is, but it will connect you to the observer and help you realize that when you are not thinking, you're actually in the observer mode. I mean, I had practice when I was a child to be in my observer mode. And since I'm a talker too, the universe created situations where it actually, it pushed me, or it created a situation where I couldn't speak. Even if I wanted to, I couldn't speak. My father had this, he had this thing where he wanted to release himself from stress and fear and stuff that went on with him, so he could hold monologues for hours. And we, his children, had to sit there and listen to this. Usually it was how disappointed he was at us, how horrible life was, how he was mistreated by everyone else. And we had to sit and listen. And I learned the ability to sit and to shut down certain noises and become very present in my observer mode. So I learned the skill to not hear his voice. I saw his face and it moved, but I couldn't hear his voice. I stopped his voice from reaching my mind. And then I could sit and watch his face move and be present in that. Or I could look through the window and I could see a tree and I could see a leaf moving. I became very, very aware of the now moment. I could smell his cigarette, or I could see at the tip of the cigarette, the ashes when they fell down. It was almost like in slow motion. I became very aware of the now moment. And this was nice for me to sit in this silence, even though he was talking all the time. And this went on for hours, literally. And I became really good at this. So I could shut it down, sit in this observer mode, and just watch things around me. It's like a meditation. And I know when you look at it, I was just a child. And if I would have seen something like this from the outside, I would say, this is abuse. You can't do this. Remove this child. But I see the gold in this, and I see how the universe will never harm me, even from a human perspective. It is harm to a child to do something like that. From a higher perspective, I literally learned how to sit with the observer within me and just observe without commenting it. I was just observing it because that's how I spent my time. Curiosity and seeing things in a very heightened awareness. And for me, that became my stillness, where I could live as a child, even though he was making noises for hours. So the universe will always create situations where you can find this stillness, but you have to be present in it. Also, you have to have the intention of being in that stillness, seeing the benefits of being in the stillness, of being able to control how much you allow of the noise from the outside into your space.
It's interesting how you share. I think, like, so often I've fallen asleep on the couch while a movie's going on, and I'll wake back up and the sound had still been playing, but I was in a dream, or I was sleeping, or a dream state. And the observer is like the in-between between sleep and it's awareness. You hear it. I'm just picturing this little girl. I understand that state. The sound is not.
It's not there.
It's not there.
Yeah. But I'm not dreaming. I mean, I know exactly where I am.
Right.
It's a question of learning how to control your awareness. For instance, I could control my awareness so that I will be very aware of my own body, where I was sitting. I would be aware of where my feet were, or I would be aware of the wind on the outside. All the small changes made me hyper aware on the outside, even though the biggest noise was his voice, and I could block his voice and still stay in all of this. There is a composer, I think his name is John Cage, and he there is a piece that he wrote, which is 4 minutes and 33 seconds, and it's silence. So not a sound is played. The one playing the piece has to sit by a piano, open the piano, and then sit there. And the audience has to sit for 4 minutes and 33 seconds. Usually they do this concert of 4 minutes and 33 seconds where you can open the doors or lift the roof or outside. So the audience sits in silence. So if you're waiting for music to be played or for my father to speak, there is no music, there is silence. So what happens? Well, you become aware of the birds in the trees, the sounds from the street, the people breathing, becoming aware of the people breathing around you. Now, that is hyper awareness in the now moment. And it contains all of this all the time, even though you're not aware of it. It's a question of where you guide your awareness and what it is that you're listening. You can become highly receptive to everything but a voice, for instance, if you want to.
That's really,
and I've been doing this since I was 6 years old. And it is out of necessity. It was a survival mechanism for me to stop his voice because it was hurting. He said things that were hurtful. I probably heard them on some level. If I would go subconsciously, I would be able to hear it. But in that moment, it was a survival thing for me not to hear it. And I've been feeling so sorry for myself for many, many years when I look at this, but I understand why, because I'm a master at doing this and it helps me. I could, for instance, when I studied, I could study and people would be all over the place around me. And I am in my own cocoon studying in my silence. It's a question of knowing how to block certain information and how to allow the information that you actually want to have in your life. Like I can allow the birds on the outside, I can hear them, but I won't allow the traffic.
yeah.
So I just shut the traffic out and then I allow the birds and I'm focused on them. I am appreciating them. I'm grateful for them. And they become a part of my existence here, a part of my creation here.
Yes. There's a verse in Psalms that says, "Be still and know that I am God." And that word still also ties to another verse where it says the still small voice. And the still small voice is the soul speaking, that the gut, like trust your gut, listen to that. And it never shouts. It's very silent,
yes,
because it's very assured of itself. It needs no validation. And I was thinking about be still and know that I am God. And this word God, I saw someone say as an acronym. They might have actually commented on one of our videos that God is an acronym, which means giver of dominion. And I thought, well, that's cool, because the word love in Hebrew is ahava, which means to give. So love, you could say giver of dominion or love over dominion, like the love is the highest thing. And the I am is found in the stillness, is found in the observer. Yes. It's found in the detaching from the creation to understand, oh, I am the creator of all that I am. And I did this video recently. The Bible starts in Genesis, God said, God said, God said, God said, God said, and it was so. And the same as goes for us. What we say is so. And if we don't detach from the sound, detach from the noise, detach from the swirling energy that can take us in this vortex and move us out of our own stillness, we forget the power that we walk with every moment.
Yes.
And it's here, it's in us, it's in you, it's in me, it's in everyone listening, but it is in, and it has to be found by detaching as the observer. That's the power.
Yeah, because you see what we're talking about here, it's like if you're diving and you go deep down in the sea, there is no sound. You have to come to the surface in order to hear the sound. So the deeper you go within, the less sound you will hear. which means that you will be at the core of your being.
That's cool. That's good. Yeah.
So, of course, we explore this reality by going to the surface, but the surface is not the real thing. It is something that we are exploring. The observer is that wordless, no sound being present. That is what we're looking for. So when we say that we're exploring silence, that is actually what we're exploring. I remember the first time, and this is very intimate and private, but anyway, I need to share it because it has to do with this core feeling. Remember the first time I hugged my husband. I wanted to say, I love you, but the words were not enough. The words were surface. It was just on a surface level of what I felt for him. So I just hugged him and allowed myself to be in that presence, and he could feel it. I didn't need to say, I love you, because I was present in this core of my being, and I was sending a message that is wordless to him, and he felt it. I know this because he's told me that that was a moment where he felt that. And I didn't say, I love you, because the words are not enough. You have to be a poet in order to catch it. And still, you won't be able to catch it because it can never encompass the true feeling. Words can never encompass the true feeling. I remember one other time where I felt that words or the sound or the noise can never, ever describe what I feel in this world truly. It can only give you a fraction of it. We were in Sydney and we were standing by the opera house waiting for the sun to rise. And the second that the sun rose, I could see the gold, I could see the light, and it hit me in my heart. And I just opened my mouth and I couldn't say what I wanted to say. I was amazed and I couldn't speak because whatever I would have said, it would have diminished the true feeling of this. Yes. That is to be present in the observer, allowing no words can describe that. So that's a silence that I might not have wanted, but it was there showing me that no words, just presence. That is what you need to do right now. So it is such a potential thing, or full of potential, when you can tap into that silence and stay in it and just be very hyper aware of what is around you. It's such a beautiful thing to be able to do. And you don't need a lot of practice in this. You just need to be present, just be there and look at it and allow yourself to be amazed by whatever is around you. Small things can do that.
Right. It's fascinating as you're sharing that. I feel like there's almost an entire existence in that space between sound and it's like, I feel like our consciousness, maybe something, it's like words are not needed. We just know, and we can feel and communicate through just the unutterable is perhaps the way to say it. And then I think back of music and the origin of music. We're just so inundated with words, with sound today, music telling us, creating these spells and words and the spelling of words. And we are taught to write in cursive to curse because what we put out becomes reality, and they're leading, we are being led, we are co-creating. I don't know how it works. And yet all these words are being uttered and they're not needed. I think back of like, how did the ancient civilizations build such magnificent architecture? Do you think they were, I doubt they were speaking and saying, wow, look at the arc or look at the, I bet they just stood and the vibration went into these places and just, that's my sense of it all. It's like, wow, the beingness, the unutterable, like you're saying, the see, but no words.
Yes, because I think that silence boosts creativity in a way. Because when you are when you are silent, you're allowing yourself to go deeper where new ideas exist. When you speak about them, you're full of the words, so there's no room for new things to come up. So you need to be silent in order to go deeper and allow the unspoken ideas to come up to the surface. To create something new, you need silence before it. Of course, I mean, we're not sitting here saying, don't speak, don't do this.
Right.
This is a way for us to communicate, but it's an overload of noise in our reality. It's an overload of sounds, actually, going into the no sound space. I mean, sound is a part of the physical creation in this world, because it's a counterpart to no sound. So you have either noise or silence. So it's a part of this polarity. But what we're talking about, the observer, the no sound, there is no polarity to this. It's just nothing or everything in it. It's one and the same. It's a paradox. It's no thing and everything in one, so to speak. So to understand that the noise is a part of creation, is a part of our reality, but not all noise needs to be explored.
Right.
I mean,
Yeah, that's right.
certain noise like we have created in our cities are actually damaging us, because we never have time to go down into this no sound place with ourselves. And we thus stop being creative, which means we stop creating things. And that's draining. We're not here to live that way. We're here to explore things and be very aware in this creation that we're creating here. We are supposed to be aware of all the things, even, like I was talking about my father's cigarette and the ashes of it falling down, and I can see how they fall. We're supposed to be aware of all these things around us. We're supposed to be present in them. And I don't think that we are, because when the noise becomes too high for you, you start creating in a habitual way. You start creating in a way that is not connected to who you are and what you want to explore. So it's like a humming word or a humming sound that makes you fall asleep, so that you're not awake in your own creation. It's like, sitting on the train and it's going boom, 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 and you fall asleep. Yeah. You're not awake. So to become awake, you need to have an intention to explore this reality and to know that your power is to choose. You can shift your awareness and listen to things and not listen to other things. It's in your power to do so. Yeah. It takes some practice, but it's in your power to do so.
I don't know how this applies, but it's coming up as you're sharing that. I think of like every animal. Let me think how this is coming through. We all have the ability to be predator or prey. And I just think in the forest, the deer who hears the snapping of a twig stops and looks and can only determine if there's a threat by the sound. And to be observant of that sound preserves that deer's life. However, the predator can hear the same, and I don't mean predator is bad. I don't mean abuser. I just mean the animal, the hierarchy of food chain, I guess. But the one seeking food can hear that same branch break and realize food's over there. And I think we as humans have the ability to understand, only in silence can we determine, is it for me or not for me? Meaning it could be the same branch breaking, and one hears food and one hears threat. And it is only in silence that we can determine what it is for us. When we're just in the noise and we cannot hear those small nuanced sounds, we really can't determine where our true soul path is to go forward. It's
Mhm.
hard to determine. And most people, I think, are lost in purpose and vision for their lives because they've yet to really come into that observer place and realize, what am I here to hear? What am I here to create?
Explore.
Yeah, explore. Anyway, that's just coming through, that same sound can lead a predator to life or keep a prey from death, life.
Yeah, I think that it has to do with how our bodies work. We have this reticular activating system, RAS, which is a bunch of nerves somewhere very, very close to the neck here. And it's programmed to, let's say that you're at a party and someone says, Lucas, you will hear it. Even though there is a lot of noise around you, people are talking and everybody's talking, and you can't really hear everything that is being said. But if someone says, Lucas, you will turn around and see. So that means that there is a program to block certain noise and to listen to certain things. Now, what happens when we, live in a society where there's always noise around us, we become numb to the things that we actually want in our life. Like you are reacting to Lucas, but you could react to something else. For me, for instance, reacting to, if someone says consciousness or if someone says expansion, I will hear those words and I will go there because I know that there is something that I'm interested in. There is something that I am here to do. There is something that is connected to my purpose. There is something that is connected to my desire, my passion in this world. But if we never, ever know what it is we're passionate about, what our purpose is, then how will this reticular activating system know? So it might pass us by and we don't see it because we are deaf to it, in a sense. We are desensitized. We are not hearing because it's too much noise. So becoming aware of the noise around you and actually start figuring out what you want to block and what you want to keep helps you find your path in this world. It's the same thing with eyes. Synchronicity will help you, but it works the same way. So starting to think about what kind of sounds do I have around me? Am I deaf to the sounds around me? Are they coming in subconsciously and affecting me and I'm not doing anything for it? And how can I become more intentional in what I allow into my world through my ears? I'll give you another example. We were watching some YouTube stuff, my husband and me, and where our screen was, there's a balcony, a door is open, and I have a garden on the outside. And these people, I don't know how it happened, accidentally we turned on and they were talking about things that I did not want to listen to. So my husband wanted to listen to it and I didn't want to disturb him. So I just switched it off in my mind and I looked outside my balcony and there is a cherry tree and it just was in full bloom and there was a wind and it caught the flowers and a dance of cherry flowers appeared in front of me. And I was like, I am so grateful for this. And I could hear the tree, even though he was listening to this thing on YouTube, which I didn't want to hear. So it's a question of learning how to block it without getting angry, because it's all in your power to stand in that place and say, no, not that, and go there instead. That's how powerful we are, actually, that we can, if we want to, do these things.
Yes. Okay, so I don't know why. Maybe I've just had a wild morning, but as you're sharing, so media, you're talking about in the ears, and we're inundated with sound and just constantly in media. And I've shared this before, I think, on a live, but media, you can break it down as me, my dia, God, my God.
Okay.
And then I was like, oh yeah, remember Jesus on the cross saying, my God, why have you forsaken me? And then I'm thinking, what is me versus the I am? And here this verse says, be still and know that I am God. or my God, me God. And it's almost like you said, the silence is source, the sound is creation. And we are either going to be in media, the resulting influence, or we're going to come back into the I am, which is completely different than the me. It says the me is the answer to the who is the I am. Who are I am? It is me. Well, that is that is the effect of the, what did you say? The effect is the result of the what?
The source is the you. And the effect is whatever is going on around you, the sound or the movement or whatever we want to call it. It is always there. And it's up to you to choose what kind of movement you want to explore in your reality, or what kind of sounds you want to explore. Yes, the cause and effect. Yes, absolutely. But you see, when there is too much noise around us in the outer world, where we can't turn it off because our society demands that all the phones are on, all the emails are answered immediately. You're forced to interact with the outer world. What happens when you do not find this stillness from within is that you get an overload on the inside. So you start overthinking, worrying, ruminating, because the outer noise bleeds into this space between the observer and the outer world. It bleeds into it, and it becomes a part of our mind. So you start worrying or overthinking or ruminating, which causes stress. It causes stress, and the stress is actually the lack of no sound. So in order to stop that, you need to find this place where you go, okay, I know that there is a place within me that is no sound. There is a place within me. It's not about me not thinking. It's not about me not speaking, not hearing. It's a place where I become highly observant of the reality in which I am in this now moment. Not what's going to happen tomorrow or what's going to happen in 10 minutes, right here and right now. And just sit in that space without allowing anything to come close to it. Just sit in it and watch, listen to what it is. What thoughts are you allowing in? When you start listening to them, or seeing the thoughts as not a part of who you are, but you're looking at them, you're observing them. You can also see that you can choose a certain thought and not choose another thought. To choose the noise, to choose the sound in your head, because it is a sound in your head. There's another thing you were talking about. I think you were talking about, you didn't say angels, but you said that there is a soft voice within us. You were talking about the soft.
I think our soul.
Yes, the soul whispers. Well, if this would have been the Middle Ages, I would give you an image that would say, well, if you want to talk to angels, you need to be quiet because they have a soft voice. Demons scream. So you will hear them anyway. You need to be able to not listen to the demons. You need to be able to silence them by saying, I am not hearing you, and then being quiet so that you can hear the soft voice of the angels. The demons would be, the world on the outside right now. Everybody wanting something from you, and everybody is screaming. So shutting that screaming down and doing this because you trust that everything is as it should be. Also knowing that everything that is in movement, that is sound, will pass. It cannot stay forever. A sound cannot be forever. It has a beginning and an end. A sound comes from no sound, then there is a sound, and then it goes back to no sound again. So it's just a part. It's never the whole. No sound is the whole. No sound is the fabric. The sound is the pattern in the fabric.
Mm.
So the no sound is always there.
It's amazing. It's amazing.
And it's always about the choice. I know that a lot of people go, yeah, it sounds so easy, but it's not easy in practice.
Mm.
It might not be easy, but what else do you have? If you can't find that silence from within, and we all can, it's not a question of not being able to do it, because that is the fabric of our being.
Mm.
So it's a question of understanding how to do this without putting too much pressure on yourself, like meditation and sitting there and saying, I can't meditate because my thoughts are always invading me, and being in stress because of that, because the stress in itself is a noise.
Right. Right. Yes, exactly.
So you can't stress yourself out of it.
The rabbi, no one was talking, but it was as loud as it could be in my head.
Yes. It's a question of realizing that the stress will be there, but it is temporary.
Mm.
The silence is forever.
Yeah.
And I think it's a question of becoming highly aware of the now moment. The now moment, not what's going to happen in the future, not what happened, that they're going to tow our car. That's something in the future.
Mm.
And then you think about maybe past experiences, and you know exactly what that takes, how much it will cost you, blah, blah, blah. Your mind goes on going into the past or into the future.
Yes. Yes.
But if you stop thinking about that and just look at the now moment, like me looking at this cigarette and the ashes falling from it, a horrible now moment. I know that I won't be able to sleep because he's going on and on and on for hours, and this has happened before in my life. And if I start stressing about that, this moment becomes even more horrible than it is. Right. So by becoming highly present and just looking at things from a perspective which I don't have time to do otherwise when I'm out there, I can explore something and actually be present in the now moment, not shoot myself into the future or in the past. I did not know what I was doing as a child. I can look at it now and see that this is what I was doing. But it felt good because I felt like I was in control. He can speak and talk and scream and do whatever he wants. I cannot hear him.
Which is so beautiful, the wisdom of the child. We all have these innate gifts and we forget,
Yes.
which is why we have to heal our inner child to come back and
Yes.
know the gifts that we truly come into this existence with. Which is
as a child. Yeah, but as a child, we are connected to the creativity. We're connected to not the noise of the world, but we are connected to this stillness from within. And out of boredom, we start, imagining new things as a child.
Yeah.
So we are connected to it. We know exactly what we need to do in order to survive here. I think it's a kind of a tool that helps us to survive. If there are no grown-ups that can help us, then we can always go back to some kind of archetype of the child, which has all the wisdom it needs, and it can pick and choose in this wisdom box without knowing that it is wisdom, without knowing what it is doing. It's just using things intuitively, wordless. This is why I wouldn't be able to describe what I was doing as a child. But yet, as a grown-up, going back in that memory and looking at it and saying, why did I do this? And then I realized I did it because I didn't want to hear.
Right.
It felt dangerous. It felt harmful to listen to that sound. It wasn't my creation. It was his creation. And it would violate me in a way that I wouldn't want as a sovereign being inside me. So looking at what you do as a child to survive in certain moments might give you lots of information on how to handle certain things in your life. Like, what do you do with the sounds that you don't want in your life? Well, block them.
Right. That's right. which then comes back to the trust that you have in yourself to know that you have that innate ability
Yes.
to
Yes. 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 Yes.
trusting ourselves. Like no matter where I am the sovereign of my own creation, of my own existence, of my perception, of my reality. And I feel this so deeply. Everyone listening right now, those who are choosing ascension and consciousness and the authority within, I feel like if we had a lion's head and we were looking through the eyes of the lion, and we all have this ability, I think a gift of humanity to do this, but we've been looking like it seems far away, like my sovereignty seems far away, and I can kind of see these portals that I can look through, but we're coming in and looking through these eyes like right here and like, wow, I am the authority of my life. I am the supreme being in my life. I am the sovereign in my life. What I say is, therefore, I want to observe what is it that I'm here to say? What is it that I'm here to create? What is it that I'm here to experience? And this power and this beauty that we all innately have is blossoming right now within so many. And it's beautiful to see.
Yes, I think that this Sunday Live, we wanted to be a reminder that this silence that is full of potential is your true being.
Yes, yes.
Wherever you go, silence goes with you. You don't need to find it anywhere. It's there all the time.
Yep.
And also, I mean, everything begins and ends in silence. So if you have this within you, it's a tool to actually understand what it is that you want to create and not create, because it begins in silence. You need to quieten down and start thinking about what it is that you want to create in this reality, feeling it, being in that silence, allowing anything that wants to come up, not repressing it, not trying to form it, just allow the form to come up as it is. Look at it and say, okay, I like this, or no, I don't like that. I want to try something else. That is the power that we have to understand that this tool, this silence that we have filled with potential, is wherever we go, it is there. If you haven't tried this, if you haven't been in the observer mode, looking at your reality from that perspective, you will be stressed out all the time by the noise on the outside, because the noise seems real and you don't.
That's right.
So going in, feeling this observer, looking at the things, but not being the things, just looking at them and kind of recalibrating your relationship to the things around you, not looking at them habitually, being present in them, in this stillness, helps you to connect to this powerhouse, this stillness within you. Also knowing that when you don't know what to do, stillness is always the answer.
Yeah, that's right. Yep.
If you don't know what to do, you just sit in silence and observe. What usually for me, when I do this, when I'm in some kind of stressful situation and I really don't know what to do about it, I go, okay, I need to be in stillness and see what comes up. And as soon as I start breathing in and out, you can take a walk if that feels better for you. For me, it's like breathing in and out, or when I'm cooking, that's when these things come up. I always come up with the same answer. This too shall pass. This too shall pass. Because when I am in observer mode, which is the stillness, it is not moving, it is still. Everything else is in motion, the sound, it is moving, which means that it cannot stay, it has to go. So this too shall pass is actually to become aware of the stillness within, because everything passes all the time. It just passes. And we stay in the stillness. We are eternal in the stillness. Everything else is in time and space. It disappears. It's not eternal. So this too shall pass. Finding that place where you feel like you're connected to this observer. And for me, it's like when I cook, I stand there, I do things, and I just go into it. Or breathing, becoming aware when I'm sitting there still and breathing in and out, and just focusing on breathing. That's when the answers pop up. Sometimes the answer doesn't have to be, it is, this too shall pass. Sometimes another answer comes up. But what happens when you are in stillness, you become connected to the source. The source is always unconditionally accepting and loving. And the answer you will get from that source will always be beneficial for everyone. It will never come as an ego answer telling you to destroy this or destroy that. It will always come from a place of love. So this is why the silence connects you to the source, and it will always give you a beneficial answer for everyone involved, including yourself, usually leading to some kind of calmness.
Right. It's beautiful. Before we wrap, Gordanas said she once read that destruction has noise and creation is quiet. Yes. And that absolutely makes sense. When you're the observer and the noise passes, then you can come with the answer, which is creation. Then what is to be created versus what is currently going away. And that all comes down, we've talked about this before, all comes down to an intention and choice and choosing.
Always, always. When you stand in that place, the observer, you understand that your intention will pick up something in the noise or the sound or the movement. Yes. And if it doesn't fit what your intention was, release.
That's right. That's right. It's so good. It's so good.
In theory, it's really easy. And why we're talking about it in theory is that once you see the mechanism, you can start practicing it because you have an image of it. Otherwise, it becomes really messy. You don't know, the sound of your own thoughts is there all the time. But if you can have a vision, an image of the stillness and the movement, and realizing that anything that comes to you that isn't the observer, that is observed, is temporary, not forever. It feels like forever sometimes, but it isn't.
Good.
That's Beautiful. This hour went by so fast.
So good.
Yes.
So good. Thank you. What a beautiful morning. We had Suresh and Gordiana comment, and thank you everyone for watching and listening. Again, thank you for a beautiful conversation. That was amazing.
Thank you too. I enjoyed it immensely. And hi to everyone watching today.
And bye to everyone. All right. Bye.